Point After Podcast with your host, Julien Barnett.
What is up? What is up, fantasy world? Welcome into the Point After Podcast. I'm your host, Julien Barnett, brought to you live, as always, on the True North Podcast Network and from our sponsors, Monkey Knife Fight. So use True North code TNFF to get matched up to $50 on your first deposit. I wish that was a smoother intro to kick off this show, but now I'm going to pass it over to two guys who are much smoother than I am. Coach CraigSport to my left here. He's going to be my co-host coming into the season. We're going to be rocking DFS together, along with Detroit Beastie, Chris Robin, who you might notice is not here tonight. He is feeling under the weather, and so he was unable to make it here onto the pod tonight. But we have a fantastic crew with Coach, and then down on the bottom, I'll get into our guests here. But Coach, thanks so much for coming on, man. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. It's been a little bit busy week, just recording a bunch of videos, good content with a bunch of good people coming out very, very soon, if it's not already out, which most of them are. But like you said, Chris isn't here tonight. I kicked him off the show.
You stole his job or what?
Yeah, I don't know.
No. I'm very happy to have both of you guys on. I just want to say hi to Kaylee in the comments, I'm super excited for this upcoming season. You know, football's so close, and we're gonna have a blast. You know, getting on here and talking some football every single night or every single Friday night. So, Mark, down on the bottom, our guest, you run Primetime Mock. The people can find you on Twitter at Primetime Mock. How you doing, man? Thanks so much for coming on. It's an honor to have you. I was on your show last night doing a mock draft with a fantastic crew of guys, and now you're on here on Friday night. So thank you so much for coming on. How you doing?
And it was an absolute pleasure having you yesterday, Julien, and I'm so glad that I can be on here tonight. I will say, though, as a fan of Detroit Beastie, Chris Robin, this is a huge step down if you're going to me here, though. So I hope we're going to still have a great time tonight. But man, I love Chris Robin. I wish he'd be here. We're missing out on a good one tonight.
Yes, we certainly are, but he is in our hearts and in our thoughts and prayers. I hope he gets better and gets feeling well for the start of the season. He can't be entering the NFL DFS fantasy season on the IR. I mean, that's right.
It's better you get it out now. Right?
You got to get out in the preseason. That's why we have this time. You got to get it out of the way so that come season, you're healthy, you're ready to go. So,
you know, in college, I used to be like the guy who would I'd finish out the semester and then I'd get mono, or I would make sure that I had a deadline, like my body, my time clock, my biological clock, whatever you want to call it. It always seemed to know exactly when the right time was to just kill me and leave me out bedridden for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel that as well. I think I tend to do that as a child as well. When I was growing up as a teenager, you know, I would make sure that all of my things were taken care of, and then I can go and get sick after that. But honestly, I didn't get sick a whole lot growing up. I drank my milk, if that gives you a strong immune system. I didn't break bones either, so I guess that's where that's coming from. We got a lot of stuff on the show today. We're gonna be talking some NFL news. We're gonna go over some of the quarterbacks that have been named starters. We're also gonna be playing some Monkey Knife Fight props. So we're gonna look at a bunch of different stuff, kind of get a bunch of different input, and we actually have a very exciting extra guest that has just joined us here. Thomas, I'm bringing you in. I know you said 1 second, but we got Thomas Tipple from the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I can't thank you enough for stepping in here last minute, literally last second. You're like, hey, my softball game got canceled. I'm jumping on the episode. So thanks so much, man. How you doing? No, Thomas, you're muted, buddy. So
Grandpa Tipple.
He's doing good. I think he's doing good.
There we go.
There
How's
you go.
that, fellas? We're good.
Love
Sorry
it.
about that. Yeah, I rushed home so fast. I didn't even check my mixer here. Yeah, man. The second I had the shot, I even missed my own show today. The boys handled the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast without me. Boys, don't be mad. I just had to hop on another one. Look, I couldn't
You gotta
miss the
get it
opportunity
in.
to hang out with you guys. I couldn't miss that. Had to make sure I got it in. So we're here, and I'm ready to go. Sam
You know
Darnold's
what I said?
looking good today. The truth is, it's all coming to fruition right now. We can't miss right now.
You can't
And
miss.
just a second ago, I said that because Chris couldn't be here. Going to me was a step down, but now we're a full step back up, guys. We're right there. So glad to have Tom on with us. We are all the way back. Okay, it's a great show. We're ready to have one.
Yo,
Mark Shoe coming in strong. This guy gives compliments like nobody's business, and I love it. You can go on my show whenever you want, Mark.
He's the best.
If you want me to say nice things about you, I'll be here anytime.
I love it. All right, well, let's get into some news. Sorry, go on, Thomas.
We actually the tradition at the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast is on the twice a year out of the 52 weeks that I'm not there, they actually do a mock. So I mean, hey, maybe it was something about destiny. They mock draft. I'm meeting Mr. Primetime Mock himself here on a impromptu show. Like is destiny.
Well, don't act like you're such a stranger, Tom. You've been on my show before.
I have. It was a great time.
I'm sure it was. If it was anything like the time I had last night. I know that sounds a little temptatious, but
hey, we closed out. That was
we're
the final
strictly
prime
talking
time mock.
football here.
That was the final prime time mock of the season. We had to just go out. We had to go out on a high note, and we certainly did it.
Yeah, we certainly did. So let's get into some of this news because a lot of big things happened in the NFL this week. Travis Etienne, let's start there. Got Liz Frank sprain in his foot, got placed on the IR, essentially ending his season before it had even started. So let's talk impact here, Coach. I want to go to you first. What are you doing with James Robinson? Where do you move him up in your ranks? And then let's go on the other side. We'll get into the Patriots backfield as well because I think this is it's still going to be a murky backfield, but there's going to be some players who I think can be fantasy viable. So let's hear it.
So you're going with Travis Etienne first. So I'll start off by saying he actually did tear the ligament there in his foot as well. So they're going to have surgery on that, put the screw in it all, the whole 9 yards. We've seen other players have this. We've seen players come back, still have the screw in too. We'll see how that all plays out. But as of right now, James Robinson, I got him at running back 18. Carlos Hyde bumps up into the 50s as a decent handcuff running back if something were to happen to James Robinson. And I'm not like too concerned long-term for Travis Etienne as his value goes though, but he could open the door for James Robinson to have a little bit more dynasty value long-term as well, with this season, with getting that extra season as well.
Well, and that begs the question is if he goes out and balls out again this year, are the Jags going to pay this guy or, could he end up seeing like a Chris Carson type of contract where it's like enough to keep him around? But again, similar players coming from similar situations. And, do you think that that's something that happens or does James Robinson walk and then, become, like one of those guys who just kind of floats from team to team? Like what kind of career path do you think that this leads him?
Well, he does have a 3-year contract as well. So he's still under contract for another year past this year. So I feel like he's probably going to end up somewhere else though.
I just am thinking like long-term, even if ETN is back next year, like, I would be hard pressed to believe they're going to, insert him fully into that offense, coming off of an injury like this. If James Robinson goes and balls out, I mean, why wouldn't you continue to feature that guy or at least use him, in an 1A, 1B role. So, Thomas, I'm going to go to you here. Where are you, what are you doing with these New England running backs? And, is it Damian Harris that really steps up here? Or are you, are you thinking that maybe you can go and get James White as a cheap value? Or are you looking at Ramondre Stevenson, as a late round guy who could blossom?
My rule of thumb in fantasy football is to never employ a New England Patriots running back on my team. it doesn't change Harris for me that Sony Michel is gone because Stevenson's just going to step in there. And I don't really want James White on my roster if I can help it. I don't even want to, like, if he's on my roster, that's fine. I mean, hey, week, 10, 11 gets real dire out there on these streets when running backs start dropping like flies. But I don't really want to ever have to put him in my lineup. I'm not a floor play guy. Like, it's great that James White will get his 4 receptions and 3 carries and he might score. And it doesn't matter. It's not a Cam Newton thing. It's not a, it's not a Mac Jones thing who's on the goal. I just don't. There was one period of time where James White had like a 12-game stretch of being an RB1, and everyone has clinged on to that since 2000. And I think it was 18. I can only remember that because my co-host Jacob FF_RTDB traded him to me that year in redraft, and he fizzled out at the end of that year, and it screwed me. So I've never forgotten about James White's peak. You will never see it again. So I don't want, there's other players. I would rather go and get a Gio Bernard. I would rather go and insert anyone that can catch a pass. Right. And sure. Harris will be fine, but I don't want to start him. I don't, because what you've seen out of Sony Michel the last couple of years is unfortunately probably what you're going to see out of Harris, and you weren't too happy with Sony. So I don't know. I'm avoiding it at all costs. I mean, put feelers out to see if anybody wants to pay up for your share, I guess.
That's fair. And Mark, where are you at with those backs? Are you rostering any of these guys, or are you, just staying away like Thomas?
As far as just the Patriots, or are we talking Jacksonville?
Well? Just Patriots. Yeah,
just the Patriots.
We can get back into James Robinson. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on these guys real quick, because I'll take it into. I'll tell you my thoughts after, but it's not going to take a whole lot of time to talk about these New England backs. So, and I think this Jaguars conversation could get going a little bit here. So, anyways, yeah, take it away.
Well, to be honest, I actually think where they're going at their ADP, they're not all that bad to take a shot on. I probably wouldn't take a shot on Damian Harris if I had to. If he was falling sort of out of that 6th round into the 7th or 8th, and I was in need of a running back, I'd be very happy to have him as like my running back 2. Or if I was going 0 RB, that's not normally me, I would be happy to take him as my running back 1 if I needed to. But I do agree that it is tough to find who that lead back is. But the thing about it is, he's at his cost. He's not costing you what it would to be that guy. I think it's pretty clear. We think that Damian Harris is going to be the lead guy of that situation. It's going to be ambiguous. We already know that. But I mean, Tom, you were talking about Gio Bernard, and I don't know if there's just as much ambiguity in that Tampa backfield. They're all going at the kind of the. I mean, Gio's going a lot later, so I would be taking Gio at his cost, but I don't see anything wrong with where they're going right now. They're fine. They're not like, oh yeah, I'm so excited to draft any of these players, but they're fine. I think even Stevenson, in the late rounds, he's a pretty decent looking back. At least, again, when you're drafting, like when you're looking at like a redraft league, you're looking for upside in those players, guys that you can cut but who have upside. When you look at Stevenson, he looks like he's at least a good football player. And if if they start to see that too, and he becomes the lead back, then you have a potential league winner on your hands. But if not, he's probably just going to get cut. That's just what's going to happen. Week to week, you're going to have 3-4 different spots that you're cutting and putting new people on your roster.
Yeah, I hear you. And I don't know. I kind of employ the same strategy that Thomas has is don't draft New England running backs, because every time I've done it, it just hasn't worked out for me. Damian Harris, I like him as a player. I think he's a good football player, a fantastic runner, but what I just worry about the volume and how valuable those touches are actually going to be. If he's getting touches, within the 20s, but he's not really used around the goal line, is that really going to be valuable? If James White, even takes 4 receptions a game, he's going to be pretty much fantasy irrelevant, but he'll be, enough to knock off Damian Harris's stock. So, that's like right now, Damian Harris is going as the running back 30, right in front of Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. And so
what's that ADP, if you don't mind me asking?
30, total. It's
80, but like round.
Yeah. Let me just pull that up here. That is round.
I think it's 7 now.
Because for me, after round 7, really a wide receiver starts to level off a little bit. So if you're getting Damian Harris around 7 and you've already sort of hammered wide receiver, again, I don't hate that. I'm not saying that it's my favorite pick, but it's the 7th round and maybe even the 8th round at some time. So it's not. I don't care, to be honest. After my first 5 pick, like after the top 60, I don't really care. Not that I don't care. I have players that I like and players that I don't. Damian Harris isn't the guy that I'm picking there, but he's outside my top 60. Any of these guys, it's all, we don't really know what's going to happen during the league. It could happen. If I needed him in the right situation, I would take him, but I don't think there's anybody who's like, oh yeah, Damian Harris, let's go for that. I think
there's some. Yeah. There's some.
And it's fine, right? So Underdog has him at 79.3, his ADP right now. And to me, I'm not
That's
I'm
like
not
the
really,
6th round.
Yeah, I'm not really vibing with that for me. Personally.
That's the end of this. That's actually the beginning of the 7th. So 72 would be the end of the 6th round. So basically the first pick in the 7th round. Which again,
he's unathletic. He doesn't catch a ton of passes, and he's in an ambiguous offense. I'm not in.
Sure. The other thing is ambiguity a lot of times can be where you can capitalize the most. When people are afraid of certain situations, like I don't feel on a year in, year out basis, the Patriots system is always the most difficult to predict. Like that Dion Lewis year, if you had your ear to the ground in New England, in what was going on in New England, you were picking up Dion Lewis. I was for sure. And he was an RB1 basically for the first 10 games of the year. If you know that guys, like when they don't have a lot, when you don't know who's going and they have just LeGarrette Blount and James White, there's nothing wrong with taking those guys in situational positions when their draft stock says we're not asking them to be your lead guy anymore. We're not asking them to be the person that carries your team. We're just asking them to be somebody on your bench who can get you 8 to 10 points. And maybe, give you the hope of 8 to 10 points, really. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily that you're picking them. You're not picking Damian Harris for the upside. You're picking him because you probably took only one running back. You hammered wide receiver and tight end. And at this point, you need a running back. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's what you take.
You just need a floor play at that spot.
Exactly. If you're drafting Chubb and Saquon Barkley in the first 2 rounds or whatever, that's probably not realistic. But say if you're taking Saquon Barkley and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first 2 rounds, you're probably not taking Damian Harris. That's true. You absolutely shouldn't. I'm saying right here, you shouldn't do that. But if you're that person who thought, wide receivers really the value here, I don't really have a running back too that's of any consequence, I'm just going to wait to the 7th and take Damian Harris. I can't fault you for that.
I will say this year might be a little different in New England because Rex Burkhead is gone and they don't have a guy to play that role for them. So I think you're right. I mean, it may not be as ambiguous as people think.
Yeah. Coach, you got anything to add?
So my biggest thing with Damian Harris, I think there's major red flags. He's got the injury history. He doesn't catch passes at this point in time, and they're not asking him to catch passes. And he might not get the goal line work. They drafted a guy that is anywhere between 230 to 250 pounds. We do not know actually how big Ramondre Stevenson is because it's been all over the place. And they spent 2 years ago trying to get Sony Michel to bulk up to get that goal line role. And now they went out and they drafted this guy. So you can't tell me he's not going to get that goal line role. And he's actually, all the knocks that I had on Ramondre Stevenson was he didn't play up to his size. But in the preseason, we're seeing him run with more power. We're seeing him lower his shoulder pad. Mm-hmm. That's the things we want to see out of him. And I think if you're going after a guy in this backfield, you should grab him because he's the one that's the lowest cost. He's the guy that you can grab at the end of the draft. And if you want the upside, you want that touchdown upside. And that's anytime you talk to anybody that believes in Damian Harris, it's always Cam Newton wasn't going to be the quarterback. Mac Jones is going to be the quarterback and Damian Harris is going to get all the rushing touchdowns. Well, now all the rushing touchdowns are gone. So Damian Harris, let's say he has a good week. He runs for 89 yards or something, has on 15 carries, catches one pass for 10 yards, and he doesn't score a touchdown. That's not helping you in fantasy.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, and if he goes down, right? You talked about the injury history. If he does go down, then you've got a guy who's already getting the goal line work, who you took, very, very late for free, who you can cut if he's not involved week 1, week 2. Like, it's not going to hurt your team in any way. And he can step into that role if something should happen. So, I actually like the point that you have there. I think that, Ramondre Stevenson might be the guy that people should be drafting for fantasy, for the potential of what he can offer, because Damian Harris, like you said, is probably just a floor play. Mark, you got something to add?
Yeah, to be fair, at their cost, I am drafting Ramondre Stevenson way more than I would be drafting Damian Harris, because, again, that's the way I draft. I'm drafting running backs in my early rounds, and Damian Harris just doesn't seem like a guy I need to put in my plans, So yeah. I agree with you there. But all I can really say is we don't know what will happen. We're generally we're very good at sort of predicting like who might be better in certain offenses, but we're really bad at predicting what actually will happen in a season. So again, that's why I don't make such a big deal after round 5 for my picks. I think that those are the people that are going to basically shift your team to whatever championship contention you have. And basically anyone after round 6 is going to have to be cuttable for you, because if you're going to hang on for them too long, you're going to end up making a mistake in season.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I made that mistake last year in my home redraft league. I kept trying to play Michael Gallup like for the first 4 weeks. I was like, in my flex, and all 4 weeks he hurt me, and then pulled him out of there, and and then he had a couple big weeks like the next 2 weeks after that. So that's the cruel game of fantasy football. But let's get into the Jags, and then we can talk Sony and the Rams a little bit as well. But let's talk James Robinson. I know Coach said that he moved him up to running back 18. I actually have him at RB 15 in my rankings, and then I'm interested to hear where you guys have J-Rob in this offense. Thomas, you start.
J-Rob is tough, right? He's the dream that just keeps on giving. You got him late last year. You're holding on. He's fine. If you expect him to replicate his last season's statistics, you're going to be let down, because this coaching staff is not going to give this undrafted free agent running back the ball 20 times down 22 points.
Especially when you have Trevor Lawrence.
I was just going to say, it's not booty scooting Jake Luton out on the field, right? It's not what it is. There's not a battle. Long neck Glennon ain't going to touch the field this year. And I doubt Minshew will either. It's a stretch to say that Robinson's locked into the RB1 workhorse role. It's what's going to happen. No, chances are it's not going to happen. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's likely, any running back that stays healthy the whole season is going to be a top 15 back realistically. That's getting the 60-40 splits, right? Like, realistically, he's not going to be spectacular, but RB, 13, 17, I can buy it. Hoping that he replicates the RB1 magic. Marone's gone. The dinosaur era is over. Hopefully, Urban Meyer, if you screw this up, I swear I will blog about it so hard. Okay, so hard. Because that's about all I can do. But if you expect that out of him, it's going to be heartbreaking. Drafting him to be your RB1, big yikes.
Yeah, Mark, where do you got him?
Tom, I hate to break it to you, but 1, Urban Meyer doesn't care about your blog, and number 2, he is absolutely going to screw this up. So
he's going to care then. He's going to write it in all red with capitals. Okay.
Unfortunately, it's going to fall on deaf ears, but yeah, he's absolutely going to screw this up, I think. Honestly, I loved James Robinson last year. Some people weren't as on him early in the off season as others were. Some people, I think, seemed to think that Leonard Fournette was just going to be the guy there, and it didn't happen, and everybody was scrambling. But if you were listening to beat reports out of Jacksonville, that they really liked James Robinson, and that was actually a reason why they were considering cutting him, cutting Fournette. That is, so I think that he's a great player. I would love to have him if he was like my 3rd running back in like a a 3 RB stack, for my first 3 picks, like that would be like heaven for me. I'd be very happy with that.
I think that. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to add, like a lot of teams are, I think, in that position because he took a huge hit to his ADP and dynasty startups, this past season, just because, they drafted Travis Etienne. And so people were grabbing James Robinson in like the 9th, 10th round as, as like their RB3, RB4, sometimes RB5. And, and now you have him upgraded to a guy that you can start every single week. Like, yeah, sorry to cut you off. I had to add that in there.
No, it's great. And actually, before I even continue, I want to talk about Travis Etienne because first of all, I feel horrible for this guy. This is a more serious injury than I think people are willing to believe right now. It can be career altering, and especially if he comes back next year and he's not still not quite right on that foot, and he still can't plant and cut and do everything that he would need to do in order to be the guy that he needs to be. It can mean mean a prolonged, opportunity or a prolonged period where he doesn't see opportunity. And then in the NFL, as a running back, that clock ticks. That clock ticks fast. And if he's a guy who's not on the field for this year, James Robinson takes him over. He has to maybe not even play the first few weeks of the season, then try and earn his way back, try and get himself all the way up to being the RB1 by the end of second season. Might not happen. And if that doesn't happen, then he's going into camp as the incumbent number 2. And that whole, the entire process, like in Dynasty, if you can sell anything for Etienne, I would right now. I hate talking about this on an injury, but I would be very worried with a foot injury from a running back. So I like James Robinson a lot. I know that Carlos Hyde is going to mix in. Urban Meyer, again, is going to screw it up. But I like him a lot. I think he'll be great with the opportunity. Frankly, he deserves it based on how he played last year. And I think that he's going to shock a lot of people as far as his ability to do this again. But you're right. I don't think that the workload and the fact that they're going to be down and they're not really projected to win that many games. They didn't win many games last year, but at the same time, you can't expect that kind of lightning to strike every week after week with a guy like James Robinson.
That's how I felt last year, and then it just kept happening.
I will say this about Jacksonville running backs: their team always seems to be horrible, yet they still happen to have a running back who's great for is like an RB1 every single couple of years. You got even Fournette, wasn't the best example, but MJD. You got these players that can just sustain value while playing on just terrible Jacksonville teams.
Yeah, it's crazy because they're not scoring a lot.
They just don't break down until it's over. They just when they're I'm getting this job and I'm not giving it up. Hurt, don't care. I'm doing it. I'm gonna make
Doesn't matter. Somebody give me a steroid shot.
Yeah. Ooh, hey. Ooh.
Can I throw out just a this or that for us on James?
Yeah, hit me, buddy.
James Robinson or Miles Sanders for you?
I'm going J-Rob.
Okay, James Robinson. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying Sanders.
And coach?
This is super close. I think right now I lean Robinson just because of some of the stuff in that Philly backfield too. Yeah.
I'm going to put it up one more step. James Robinson or DeAndre Swift? Is that the line? That's the line for me. That's pretty much exactly where I am in between those two players.
Yeah, I have these guys 2 spots apart, and they're right in a tier gap together. So this one is actually tough, and this is the line. I have concerns just about Swift's health a little bit right now, and what's going on, and Jamal Williams is going to get involved, and I think there is some question marks, and you wonder how good is that team going to be, but. There's also Swift could see 100 targets because outside of TJ Hawkinson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, there's no one to catch that ball. So that's a tough one, man. That's the line, man. I'll take Swift.
Yeah. There you go.
Coach?
Sorry, I didn't mean to take over your show and just go.
This is what I mean. The conversation goes.
I put J-Rob in my rankings. I never put him where I really thought he should go in my rankings, so I just did it now on the show. And I was this is very interesting right here.
Yeah, it's like really tight.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said before, like Swift, Sanders, Robinson, Montgomery. If I'm doing a 3 RB stack, like I love them as my RB3, as my RB2. There's a lot of people who will take those 4 guys and be like, that's like a plug and play. I'm never going to take him out RB2, and that's not it for me.
All right, guys. We got a question in the comments I want to answer here. So the Chosen Rose says, I'm the 12th pick in a 12-team league. Is this full PPR? Can you tell us here, full PPR half? What would you do? I don't really want wide receiver. I'm thinking Eckler and Gibson if one is taken, then Najee at the 12th spot. So like we did a super flex mock yesterday, but you've been doing all kinds of mock drafts throughout the entire offseason, Mark. So I'm going to go to you first on this one. What would you do? Half point PPR at the 112. Are you might be able to grab one of those elite wide receivers. You could probably get Travis Kelce maybe at that spot, or you could go ahead and grab, 2 running backs back to back there like Gibson and Eckler. So take it away.
Okay, so this is why you should be tuning into Prime of Time Mock, because we talk about the strategy of drafting, where you're drafting, what you're drafting, how you're drafting all the time. So if you are there at the end of the first round, 12 and 201, first of all, I think there's nothing wrong if you want wide receiver there, especially if they're the first one off the board to take wide receiver. But I think the play to go is if Kelce is there, you have to take him with one of those picks.
She says Kelce is gone. Already been taken.
Kelce is gone, already been taken. Okay, so then who are the other running backs available? Would be my next question. Mm-hmm. And if there's not a wide receiver off the board, I would consider pivoting, because at the very least you can get an edge that way.
I think that for the most part, say if it's a redraft in a 12-team, you're probably looking at guys like McCaffrey, Kamara, Cook, Barkley, Henry, Chubb, Elliott, and Taylor are probably gone all by this spot. You can probably walk away with an Aaron Jones. And
Aaron Jones would be probably my pick if we did that.
Aaron Jones and Gibson stack 1-2 at that turn, and half point PPR to me is an absolute slam dunk. If somehow Gibson has split,
I don't hate Nick Chubb if he's there either.
I don't hate Nick Chubb if he's there either. I would take Nick Chubb for sure. I would take Aaron Jones for sure. Honestly, if those two were there, I'd take Jones and Chubb. But honestly,
Jones, Gibson, yeah.
I'm very loose tiered, and if you want to go running back, and you can only get one of Chubb and Aaron Jones, or you can't get either of them, honestly, like you're not in bad shape with Najee, with Antonio Gibson, with Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I would take all those guys. I mean, it would not. Sometimes it might not feel right, but I would take both of those guys, any of those guys there, if you feel like you want to start RB, and I wouldn't think twice about it.
Okay, I'm just going to ask this real quick here. Where's the line on these players? So, like, you're now at the back of the first round here still. Are you interested in Clyde there? Are you interested in Austin Eckler? Like, tell me when you guys aren't drafting a running back anymore, when you would pivot to, say, Tyreek or Devontae Adams. Antonio Gibson, we've talked about. Zeke, you taking Zeke over these guys?
That's my line is Gibson, right? I don't want Clyde. Like, if Gibson is gone, right, and you're staring at an Aaron Jones as like the only guy, I'm immediately thinking Devontae Adams, a Stephon Diggs at the second pick. I don't want to. If you're going to take Austin Eckler, just wait another round and take DeAndre Swift. Like, just wait.
So I think I made clear that I would. Process. If there are no wide receivers taking, I'd take the 2 best wide receivers and have that as my edge, and that's sort of where I would go, and then I would try and do that. But what I'm saying is, if you are gung ho about being running back on that back end turn, because there are a lot of drafters, there are a lot of people that are. If you are gung ho about being a double tap RB drafter right at the end of that turn, I have no problem with you going as far as Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's fine with me. I'm not necessarily going to do it all the time, but I play in a lot of leagues. I draft a lot of teams, and I will take him from time to time there in the right situation. If I a lot of it deals with like what's my exposure on these guys? Because a lot of these guys are about the same to me. We don't know what's going to happen in this year. We have no idea. So all these guys, we can project whatever we want. And you can use, I use data to help strengthen my arguments as well. But at the end of the day, we have no idea what's going to happen. All we're doing is hedging these bets. And even though you might like one person's a little bit better than another to be successful or be that person you want to be, they are all way, way closer than we in the fantasy industry are willing to put out into the world because we want to be right about our takes. When really, like, there are so many guys that can make your roster happen for you. There really are.
No kidding, man. I said it on your show last night. There's like 30 wide receivers that I'd be happy to start on any given game. Yeah. So it's just like there's so much depth that you don't even realize how much there really is. And so I will add to picking from the 112 spot. I'm not actually not really in favor of going running back there because that tier drop off is usually is pretty drastic at that point, and you can really find some values if you can go and add the best players at other positions, say a Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, right? If you could start off Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams at the turn, and then you could go, and then when it gets back to you, go DeAndre Swift and J-Rob, I'd be pretty happy with that start, follow, and then maybe, attacking running back a little later, grab me some Damian Harris. Yeah. No, I'm just fucking. Coach, where are you at with the 112? Let's just we'll wrap this up here, but I want to hear your opinion.
Man, I think everyone here has made good points so far, and a lot of it just depends on your league too, and what's going ahead of you. People, and especially if you're in a league where you've been in that league for a while, people's habits, people's tendencies too. Like last year, I was in a league where it was a bunch of analysts. There was 23 running backs that went in the first 2 rounds. So after a while, sometimes you just have to know what's going on and pivot from it too. So I just took it. I took Devontae Adams in the middle of the 2nd round last year because he was there. I'm like, well, he shouldn't be here. I'll take him. Then a whole bunch of running backs went after that. And I'm like, well, we're just going to punt running back down the road. So I feel like in this situation, I try to get one of the top receiving options if there's one there. If it's a Travis Kelce, if it's a Devontae Adams, if it's a Tyreek Hill, if one of them's there. If all 3 of those guys are gone, you can probably hit running backs pretty easily.
Then there's running back value.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
If those 3 guys are gone in the first 11 picks, then you're getting like a top 8 consensus running back who's going to be like an Ezekiel Elliott or Antonio Gibson or let's see who else we got on here. Jonathan Taylor potentially, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones. You're gonna end up with one of those guys. So in that point, then the value's at running back. It's not at wide receiver, right? You don't want to be spending that 112 on like a wide receiver 3. Or like the 3rd wide receiver off the board. That that's fantasy football of old. We're into the new age running back era where they catch passes just as much as receivers do. So,
in that situation, if Stephon Diggs is there and you really want to take Stephon Diggs in a running back, I'm not going to fault you for doing that either.
Yeah, but still, I do especially if Stephon Diggs is the wide receiver 3 taken, then that's different if you're taking him as the 2nd wide receiver taken off the board. Is my point. And Travis Kelce, that would be 4 players gone. That means that there's only a potential that 5 running backs could have gone, 6 running backs could have gone before that. So it's you're in a good position still to go and grab one of those running backs and a wide receiver there. So, anyways, we definitely indulge that. Or Mark, you got something to add last minute? I just
want to give one more quick piece of draft advice, and I've been doing this because I've been talking with a lot of people that do drafts, and it's kind of come down to a general consensus for me is that in the first round, there are 9 running backs, and I'm not going to read through them. I think if we all looked back and we thought about them, we would all know who those 9 running backs are at this point. There's Travis Kelce, who falls in there somewhere. For me, it's a little earlier than most people are willing to draft than others. And then there are usually 2. I think 3 wide receivers who can fill those last 2 draft spots in that top 12. Right. And basically what I'm thinking is if you can get 2 of those 9 at 112 and 201, absolutely, you're going 2 RBs. That's exactly what's happening. If it's not happening, you should be just and those 9 are gone and Kelce is gone. and maybe the first wide receiver is gone, or maybe another running back, whatever, you take the two. I think you take two of those three top wide receivers. You have the best top two in the league, and that's the edge that you can make at the end of that round. That's like, it's kind of like the thing about the 112 is, if everybody plays the cards right, it's checkmate for you. You only have a couple options that you can do.
Yeah.
So if it happens that those 9, Kelsey and another wide receiver go, or a running back, it doesn't really matter at that point. I think receiver is a good way to go.
Yeah, I agree. So, and they just asked, last question here, isn't waiting on someone like Robert Woods, Chris Godwin, or Amari Cooper just as good? And I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about that, but Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams are an elite level of wide receiver. Like, it's not like, you can't just replace that production by grabbing a Robert Woods. Like, you're not going to get the upside that you're ever going to get with those other two who, can win you weeks. Like Devontae Adams, I had a Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen stack in 3 leagues last year because the value on Keenan Allen was absolutely absurd. And Devontae Adams was going in the back to the mid of the to the back of the first to the mid second round. So I was able to get that stack a lot. And when you got 2 top 12 wide receivers like that, I obviously had to go robust zero running back in a situation like that. And I was fine. Like, I made it to the championship game with, I actually started Keenan in the week that he said, don't sit me, and then caught 1 pass for 14 yards and then ran off the field. Yeah. So I lost my semifinals. I lost 2 of my 3 Keenan Devontae Adams stack teams that week, based off of the Keenan stack, but they carried me to get me into that playoff spot. And so, I do actually think that there's a conversation to be had about having those elite wide receivers. So Thomas, you looked like you wanted to add something there real quick. And then we're going to get into some QB talk here.
I just wanted to point out for the waiting for Chris Godwin and Amari Cooper, ask yourself in Amari Cooper's career if you've been happy with him as your number 1, or look at the guy in your league who has Tyreek Hill and you're just like, oh man, that's cool.
That's right? Absolutely right.
That's how it is. I think, receivers that teardrop is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Julian, I think you said it best. Honestly, what you said is there's like 30 wide receivers that you can like, right? But honestly, really, there's 5 wide receivers that we love, and then there's 30 wide receivers we like. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, that's just sort of. So if you can get 2 of those 5, that you love, because nobody else is going to be able to do that at 112 after 112. It's not possible. Maybe if one of those people took one of those wide receivers, they have a possibility, but they don't necessarily have. Like, for me, the top 3 is pretty solid with Hill, Diggs, and Adams. Actually, that's not my order, but whatever. Hill, Adams, Diggs. After that, like, I do like Hopkins, I do like Ridley, but honestly, like, you're the only one who's going to have 2 of them, and then everybody else can play that. You can just take one of those guys. It's great. Take Godwin. Take Robert Woods. Take those guys. You're starting 3 receivers. You should be so happy that you're taking Robert Woods as your 3rd receiver at that point. You know what I mean? And you can even take the 4th. Be in your flex. There's no problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're getting a guy who it does give you wide receiver 1 numbers. You're able to go and flex him out in your flex spot. Maybe it's not every week, but he's going to give you wide receiver numbers on a pretty consistent basis, in my opinion. If my projections of the Rams passing game is correct, but I don't know. I'm just guessing, man. You said it best, Mark. We're all just guessing. All right, guys. So let's get into some QB talk. We have 4 quarterbacks who have been named starters. Some of them were people that we expected, a la Trevor Lawrence starting for the Jaguars. I don't think there was any debate here, but Urban Meyer, he thought he was keeping it a secret, leaving it up to the final week before the season starts to announce that they're going to have a starter. But no surprises here. Anyone needed to add anything about this? I mean, it's we don't need to say anything, right?
I'm just happy that Gardner Minshew finally gets to take a dump. Right? Like, I feel bad that he, that was his like extra juice with that report. So I'm just happy for the guy. He can relax.
That guy's going to get into TV. That guy's going to get into TV once his NFL career is over, for sure.
What a character.
No kidding, man.
There's like an Uncle Rico like docuseries that they can make that like has his name on it.
1000%.
The Gardner Minshew.
Could you imagine like an Uncle Rico origin story, like his days back? Like that's that's must watch TV for me, guys. Like I would watch that. I would definitely watch that.
Get Hard Knocks out of here. I want some Uncle Rico Gardner Minshew. Okay, the other. We'll get into two that there was a debate for a while. What?
I'm picturing it now. Like he comes out of the trailer with his mullet.
Tell me you wouldn't watch that. Tell me if he put a TikTok out that had that was even close to that as like a promo, I would be all over it.
Why is he not marketing that? Like he should be on TikTok making TikTok videos now that he's QB2 for the Jaguars. It's official, so
he's not that desperate.
Yeah, once he gets out of the NFL, he's gonna have to earn a living like they do in 2021. Teddy Bridgewater named the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. This is a little bit of a controversial pick, but I think there's sides to be made for both of these players. A lot of people hate on Drew Lock. I don't necessarily hate Drew Lock. I think he hasn't had the best opportunities to go out there and put together some good games. And, Bridgewater is going to be a game manager. That's how I see this. They're going to try and control the clock with the defense and just limit turnovers. And that's what Drew Lock couldn't do last year. He turned the ball over, almost more than anybody in the NFL. So I think that's really where this comes from, is a ball security standpoint. Let's just get the ball in our playmakers' hands, not turn the ball over and control the clock on defense. Coach, I want to go to you first. Where are you at with this decision? Do you think it was the right one for the franchise? How do you see this actually playing out? Because I'm not sure that, even with Teddy Bridgewater, the Broncos are going to be able to beat the Chiefs or the Chargers, and the Raiders. I think it's kind of like a fight for second or for third place there between those two teams. And so, if they finish, 8-9, are you happy with that season? Or is that what I mean? It's not a good pick, but you're also not winning and not making the playoffs. It's ugly, right? So where are you at with Teddy Bridgewater? Do you think he can be a guy who, brings them to the playoffs, or is this just a weird call?
So I got some pretty strong opinions on this one, and you traded for Teddy Bridgewater first of all, and okay, so your whole premise on playing Teddy Bridgewater is he's the safer guy. He threw almost as many picks as Drew Lock last year. But he doesn't have the history of it. Although he's played in the his touchdown he hasn't had a whole lot of games to be touchdown to interception ratio is not that good. If you wanted a safer quarterback, you could have went out and got Tyrod Taylor. His touchdown interception ratio is way better than Teddy Bridgewater's. But and everybody makes the point, Teddy Bridgewater, blah blah blah, supported 3 top 25 wide receivers last year. Christian McCaffrey wasn't there. More targets went to all the wide receivers too. Curtis Samuel had 32 points from running the ball, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're not going to get that with the Denver Broncos wide receiver. Drew Lock, at the same time, you said you passed on Justin Fields and you passed on Mac Jones at the same time in the NFL draft.
And then you traded for Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah. Yeah. You could have drafted one of them with Teddy Bridgewater still. So you were saying at that point, Drew Lock, you're still giving him a chance in the future. He came out, he played all right in the preseason. He's only had 18 career starts. He's had a different offensive coordinator pretty much every year of college and the pros, except for one back-to-back year at Missouri, and that was his best year. Now you have Pat Shurmur, who's had success with less successful quarterbacks like Case Keenum. So put him in the offense again. There's no upside in Teddy Bridgewater. We know what Teddy Bridgewater is. This is a Vic Fangio decision that says my defense is going to be good enough, and I hope Teddy Bridgewater doesn't screw it up. You're not going to beat the Chiefs like that. You're not going to beat the Chargers like that, which you kind of already alluded to. So I don't think it's the right decision. I think, Teddy Bridgewater could come out and have a bad game and he could be pulled too.
Yeah, I think that's a very real possibility as well. And I think, Drew Lock brings a spark that Teddy Bridgewater doesn't, with his big arm. But that's really what the question is like how it's going to play out. And so, Thomas, what do you think? Do you like this move, or do you think they're trending in a downward direction?
This smells of desperation. Vic Fangio saying, "Please don't fire me for passing on Justin Fields." Look, the running game in Denver, if you watch the preseason game against the Vikings when the starters were out there and how that team manufactured their points, it was literally picture perfect to make Drew Lock successful. He had the deep crosser to Hamler. He had the play action rollout at the goal line too. You guessed it, KJ. The offense looked exactly how you wanted it to look last year for Drew Lock, but too many things went wrong in terms of injuries and COVID and, not putting everything together. Drew Lock is the, run and gun quarterback that they could really challenge some of these upper tier teams. Last year's season for Teddy Bridgewater was statistically his best, and that's horrifying to me. To hand the keys over to that guy and say, he's going to save it. This is going to completely justify mistrading for him. It's going to justify passing on Justin Fields. And don't get me wrong, Surtain's a great player. He had the pick 6 in that same game, actually, but you're going to run the ball anyway. And the play action rollout, and I get it. Teddy B wasn't actually that horrible on the deep pass. I get it. But, he just doesn't have the same makeup as I think Locke has. He like Coach was alluding to, he's just safe, and it's gross. And for fantasy, no thank you. Superflex or not, no thank you.
I don't even want him at Superflex. I agree. I think this team's going to run the ball, rely on their defense, pound the clock. The way that the Broncos want to play football, right? If you're going to play against Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert twice a year, you got to figure out how to keep those offenses off the field. Mark, do you got anything to add on this quarterback situation here?
To be honest, I don't think it was ever of any consequence who was the starting quarterback of Denver. To be honest, Jeff Bell put this take out on Twitter at For Whom J Bell Tolls, friend of mine. And he basically said that this team right now is in a position that they are posturing for Aaron Rodgers as a trade target. Not that it'll happen this year. It certainly won't. Green Bay won't have it. But because of that, they're using Bridgewater, the safe option, the guy who, at the very least, his decision-making is more sound than Drew Lock. I think we can all agree that his decision-making as far as a quarterback is more on target. I get that Lock is the gunslinger and he can have the big plays. But ultimately, what they need to prove this year is that they can be a playoff contending team without a good quarterback. And all that they need is that one piece that's waiting for them in Green Bay. So for me, what Teddy Bridgewater really does for me more than anything, I wasn't drafting him anyway, and I still won't. But I did think that he was probably going to be the quarterback to start. But all this does for me is move the pass catching options. It does move Judy, who is a great talent, high draft capital. Same thing with Courtland Sutton, great talent, high draft capital, has shown it on the field in the NFL. Both of them have. Judy is shown, exactly. So I don't know about Noah Fant. I can't support that. I can't support that. Not that I wouldn't take him as a tight end streamer. He's in there with tight end streamers for me. That'd be fine. But I will be more inclined to draft those two stud wide receivers more than anything from this news. I was already kind of drafting the running backs, but it's not an offense I'm super excited about. At the very least, as far as targets are concerned, where they're being funneled to for the most part, and that's their two far and away most talented receivers.
Yeah. Coach, you wanted to add something there?
Yeah, so I think the person that gets affected the most out of this is Noah Fant. When Drew Lock was in trouble, the person that he always looks for is Noah Fant. He's
awesome.
And nobody like talks about Noah Fant. Like you hear all these people talking about touchdown regression for tight ends and stuff like that. And it's always like Evan Ingram and a couple other guys. Noah Fant had like 2 touchdowns last year on like 100 targets. So like that's bound to go up. But like we saw Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina last year, not even like throw to the tight end. Part of it's the system that was there too. We did see a little bit with Jared Cook.
Ian Thomas.
Okay.
I mean,
Ian Thomas averaged 2.2 yards of separation per route run last year. So he was pretty good at that. They just didn't throw the ball to him for whatever reason. But, you know, you got DJ Moore, you got Robbie Anderson there. Why would you throw the ball to Ian Thomas anyway? So that's a whole nother story.
Sometimes you get a lot of separation because they don't care if you catch the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yo, Mark.
I mean,
his numbers last year are crazy.
I'm just saying, guys. Like sometimes they don't care if you're the one who beats them. They just don't.
Yeah, like if Ian Thomas beats us, we're doing our job.
They know they can at least chase.
Exactly.
They at least know they can chase Ian Thomas down. They don't know if they can catch DJ Moore.
Yeah, or Robbie Anderson.
Well,
or Curtis Samuel for that matter. But
I wish,
go on.
I wish I had $1 for every time Teddy Bridgewater underthrew DJ Moore last year, though. But that's a whole nother story.
I yelled at my TV and everyone in our Slack. Part of the reason Full Tilt Dynasty podcast got started and has survived is because I would yell into my phone through voice messages to Jacob and Tom Lee and Billy and Maddie, who we hired as our stat guy. And the tipping point for me was the Teddy Bridgewater missed throw on DJ Moore that almost cost Moore his season, the rest of his season in Minnesota. Yeah. I almost passed out because I went full-blooded Italian. My face was red. I was talking with my hands. It got really out there in that game, and I've never been able to forgive Bridgewater since.
Hey,
yeah, exactly. Hey, what are we doing?
This past weekend, I saw my family for the first time in a while, and we always end up watching The Sopranos, so it's like full on the front of my brain. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Coach, did you have anything else to add on to that?
No, it's just funny, like when you see like the on target percentage for Teddy Bridgewater, but then you watch all the throws to DJ Moore, and those were all the off target ones right there.
Yeah, no kidding, man. All right, the last QB we're going to talk about earlier today, Jameis Winston was named the starting. Gabagool.
Gabagool. Say hello to your mother for me. Say hello to your mother.
You guys are killing me, man. Okay. Jameis Winston, guys, named the starter. A lot of people thought that it was actually going to be Taysom. So this is some pretty big news.
I did. I thought it might have been Taysom Hill.
You still think it might be Taysom?
No, I do not still think it'll be Taysom Hill. That's a
okay.
lie.
That's changed since last night.
Literally after our show, and all the information posted, I'm willing to say that Jameis Winston's going to be the starter. That's totally fine. I'm just saying that until it happened, you shouldn't just assume because those NFL coaches, they're tricksters. They like to mess with you a lot.
Them tricksters. Well, I always thought this situation was interesting, and then when Michael Thomas, had his surgery and was ruled out till basically week 10, I thought to myself, it makes more sense for Jameis to be the starter and have Taysom, kind of be like this gadget player because it's just another weapon that they can utilize. And, they don't have that many weapons right now. And I know a lot of people were also kind of going on the other side, prevent the turnovers, go with the guy who's played in games before and, been able to run this offense. And, obviously Jameis looked fantastic against a terrible Jaguars defense this past preseason game. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Thomas, you look like you are dying to say something. So let me know where your head's at.
Winston looked good against a bad Jacksonville defense, but against their best corner in Griffin. So, and I'll say Callaway made him look like a god on the field because those 2 receptions that Callaway had in the end zone, I do have them at Thomas Tibble FF. They are posted on my profile as I do tend to clip games. They were, you wouldn't know it was Callaway. You would assume it was one of those top 5 guys. The difference is that Winston isn't afraid to throw that pass, where Taysom Hill would much rather not throw that pass. So I think it was at that moment. If it was in the second half half. Oh my God, second half of the game, half. I think we look at those half. Oh my God, I think we'd look at those Winston throws a little bit differently, but it wasn't. It was in the start of the game, and he looked just fine picking on the big money free agent Griffin, who is a good corner in the NFL, not a piss poor player. He balled out, and I think that was the moment they won the job, until Sean Payton's master plan of using Jameis Winston as a pin cushion for the media. If he plays bad, they'll wait 4 games and then put in Taysom Hill as an excuse for whatever Taysom Hill has on Sean Payton.
And do we got the whole tight end battle again? Whole tight end versus QB eligibility fight. That whole thing caused. No, let's not get into that.
Please
Coach,
don't.
what do you got to add on this?
I think it's funny that you bring up the tight end too, and their tight end room is pretty much decimated at this point because Nick Van Nette's hurt, Adam Troutman's hurt for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks at this point in time. So they might actually need Taysom Hill to go out and play tight end like he's done in the past. Because they got a wide receiver convert and Jawan Johnson playing out there. They got there's some other like kind of blocking tight end that's not any good on the team too, but
yeah.
So they might actually need him in that role too. Plus Jameis played well, so I think it's kind of a good thing for all of them put together. It's probably better for some of these wide receivers, that they'll get some of these deep shots down the field. We've seen Callaway be successful. Traquan Smith, that's kind of what he was predicated on when he came into the NFL, but we haven't quite seen it with Drew Brees, and now he's hurt, and there's just a lot of questions around this team in general.
Yeah, there really is. There's, I don't even know how to approach this team, like from an NFL perspective. Like if I think they're going to be good or not. Like, I lean on the side of like, yeah, I believe in Sean Payton and what he is able to do with an NFL team, but I have a lot of questions about the pieces that they have on that team. And so, it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. And, we could see a world where the Saints, fall on their face. Like it could happen. It's not unrealistic. So Mark, do you got anything to add on this QB battle on the Saints in general before we get into some season-long player props?
Yeah, so I'll just go through with my way of thinking because it'll illuminate why I was taking Taysom Hill over Jameis more than anything. I kind of believe, especially when in quarterback room, if it's an ambiguous situation, the tie goes to the runner, goes to the person who has that rushing floor and that rushing upside. Taysom was that. Teddy Bridgewater, if we're thinking about it, Teddy Bridgewater was that for that Denver room. Cam at the time was that for me, although it looks like it might be Mac Jones now. But now that the information is out, I'll be moving to Mac Jones. The thought is like ultimately, if you have a guy that we're not quite sure who it's going to be, the tie's going to go to the runner for me because then I can just cut him if I need to. But at the same time, if they become the starter, I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with the fact that I would have a rusher in Taysom Hill, who even if he doesn't have to be a great thrower, he can still be a top 12 guy for me. The thing about Jameis, I'm not all that interested in Jameis. I think that, again, the offense now is pretty obviously going to be funneled to Kamara and Callaway until Michael Thomas comes back, which doesn't like really excite me that much, especially for a quarterback like that. Your number one pass catcher is a running back, and then the second one is a guy who's never been a lead receiver in his life. Not that I love Marquez Callaway. Don't get me wrong. I've been drafting him. Very happy I got him in the Scott Fish Bowl back in July. Very happy that I've been drafting him all last pick of the draft before my kicker, of course. So I'm very happy to have taken advantage of Marquez Callaway all year, although Michael Thomas wasn't hurt at the time. But I did believe in him quite a bit. Thought he would be the number 2 receiver. If they figured that out, I would have been very happy to have Jameis at this point in the season if Michael Thomas were still healthy. Marquez Callaway over there. We have Alvin Kamara and the possibility of Adam Troutman healthy right at the beginning of the season. But with Jameis right now, it worries me because my other thought is Jameis could very easily be pulled at any moment for whatever reason we want. Jameis is also the kind of player that if Drew Brees is going to be subject to, and I'm calling it this because it is a QB guy committee where it was Drew Brees and Taysom on plays, in between the outside or inside the 20-yard line. Taysom was in the game over Breeze for things. At the goal line, Taysom was in over Breeze for games. What's to say that that's not going to happen again? And are we really going to say that Jameis as a passer is going to be that guy that we want when they're not even doing that with Drew Brees? That when they're already making a committee with Drew Brees, I'm not that in on it. Especially again now that their pass catching core has taken a hit with Michael Thomas being gone.
Yeah, that's a great point. That I hadn't really even thought about that way, because when Jameis did have his QB1 season where he threw for as many touchdowns as he did INTs, he was able to provide for fantasy because it was a lot of deep shots, a lot of long balls.
Because he had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, look at the wide receiver core that he was able to throw the ball to. So I don't have a whole lot of Jameis. I don't really have a whole lot of Saints players outside of Alvin Kamara, to be honest. and I think that's a testament to the fact that they're all dropping like flies. There's just so many players who are just injured that, my dynasty rosters are, I'm not going to be going and picking up, Juwan Johnson on every single one of my teams simply because he's getting in at tight end, because of injury. So anyways, does anyone have anything to add on this situation before we move into these player props?
Just to Mark's point, I'm excited about Callaway because this is one thing I trust Jameis Winston to do is to funnel targets to anyone he's comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so far, that's all I've seen.
That's why I'm happy to take him as a receiver. I'm not happy taking Jameis. I would. I wouldn't be happy with having him.
100% agree. For Callaway, he fits that weird, lanky, not explosive wide receiver thing that Sean Payton has a weird thing with. I look at Callaway and I look at Colston. I go, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen this year. So. Yeah, I just wanted to.
We're right here, Tom. I love this, Tom.
I'm vibing with you, man. We're good. I just wanted to let Mark know we're vibing.
Can you guys Can you guys high five? Can I get a high five here?
I'm bad at this.
Other way.
Stage left.
You gotta go all the way to the wall. Yeah. Come on, man.
I can't do this. I struggle on my own show. There we go.
There we go. All right, guys. I'm going to pull it up here. You got anything to add on that before I'm going to get into a quick ad read here, and then we will get into these player props. They're your favorite, right?
Love it.
Ad read.
If you want the best DFS player prop games in the industry, jump onto Monkey Knife Fight. Monkey Knife Fight is sweeping the nation right now, and we at True North are proud to be doing it along with them. They've got games for all sports and skill levels that are sure to keep you on the edge of your seat, with endless opportunity to watch your winnings pile up. With our promo code TNFF, Monkey Knife Fight will match your first deposit up to $50. So sign up now with our promo code and you can get up to $50 of free money to start making some bank. Again, that's monkeyknifefight.com, and the promo code is TNFF at your first deposit to start playing today.
All right, and now we're going to put it to the test because we have some player props that we are going to be talking about. There's at this point, so this is a new template. They just put in all of these brand new prop lines for these players, and so they only have a few. The most you can go is you get 10 out of 10 guesses correctly, and you win 100 times your buy or 500 times your buy-in. But that gets us 10 teams. But the less and less we go, we get obviously less and less players. So we got a couple of the big names that we're going to go over, and we're just going to have some fun with these. So we'll start with this first one we've got here, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. We have a total passing line for these two. And, Patrick Mahomes is 4,999.5 yards. So he has to break 5,000 to hit this. He's only broken 5,000 one time in his career. That was in his MVP season in 2018. But we also get an extra game of Pat Mahomes this year of all of these players. So where do you guys lean, Coach? I'm going to go to you first. Are you over? Are you more? Or are you less on this line?
For Patrick Mahomes first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. God, this one's close. I think I'm just going to take the under at this point because We saw the Chiefs kind of want to run the ball a little bit last year. I think they're still going to try to commit to it a little bit more too. It still averages out to be about 295 yards a game. So I think there might be a couple games in there where he gets a little bit under too.
Yeah. Well, the thing for me is I don't like to project injuries, but I think like when you're playing a season long prop like this, you have to at least consider that he could miss a game. If he gets a hammy injury, he gets a foot injury, something's messed up with his thumb, like he misses a game here or there, maybe he misses 2. And if that happens, then he has to now make up 600 yards essentially in the other 15 games. So I'm going to take the under myself as well. Or the less. I'm not sold on that 5,000 yard passing line, and that is incredibly hard to do. I know we are adding that as well, and we're talking about who I think is going to finish as the QB1 this year. But I don't think it's unrealistic to think he could throw for 45 plus touchdowns. So I think that's how he gets there. Where are you at with this, Mark?
For me, it's just like you said. It's, do you think that he's going to miss a game or two? But if you feel like he's going to play all 17, I would definitely take this, to be honest. He's been if he's playing 16, or if he's playing 16 even, I might still take this, because even though he didn't do it the past 3 years, 2019 he missed 2 games and he got hurt in that one game where he only put up 76 passing yards. If you extrapolate all the rest of the games he played that year, those 13 games instead of 14, he's on pace. He's on pace for over 5,000. If you look at his stats from last year, 47-40 were his passing yards. That was with 15 games. If it were 16, he would be right at that line. He would basically be hitting right up against it. It's a coin flip whether or not he actually would have done it in game 17, right? But 2018, obviously over it. He's putting up over 300 yards a game, basically and he is consistent as hell doing it. Mm-hmm. There are 2 games in his career, and one of them is the Super Bowl that he's not putting up over 275 passing yards.
That's a very, very fair point. I mean, I don't even think I can count on one hand the amount of games that he's put up less than 300 passing yards. Like
that's what I mean. Yeah.
I think that's really what it comes down to.
16, if you think he's playing 16, it's a hold for me. If you think he's playing 17, take it. Just take it, because to be honest, he's got a little bit of a rushing he's got a rushing side to him. So he's always open for injuries in that situation, but he is honest. As far as a rusher is concerned, he is much safer than most other options are as far as rushers go. And game in and game out, again, he's putting up 275 to 350 basically.
Yeah, I mean, he actually offers a relatively safe. Sorry, go on.
I mean, Kelsey's there, Hill is there. Like, there's not much more that you can ask for. And on top of it, like, he's gonna have passes to he's gonna. I mean, how do you say anything bad about Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, it's tough. It's honestly tough to say anything. Bad about him. For me, it comes down to the health, and if you believe he's going to play 16 games, because like you said, like I'm not doubting the talent. I'm just not sure that 5,000 is a lot. It's a pretty hefty number to reach. So Thomas, where are you at? You're going to be our tie break. We got 4 people here now, so
I'm smashing the over pretty confidently. And
all right,
because in his last season they were 14 he was 14-1. And they were still chucking that ball. You got to think the win-loss regresses a little bit. And he was still chucking the ball. And like you said, it was 15 games. But he's still 588 attempts last season with their commitment to running the ball. Mm-hmm. Give me 17 games in if he's going to hit that even 590, 600 attempts, I don't think there's any way he doesn't hit that. In his 5,000-yard season, he had 318 yards per game. Last season, it was 316. Like in his 2 full seasons starting, that's just how he's been. Give me 17 games with Patrick Mahomes and that team getting a better offensive, healthy, and maybe better offensive line. Yeah, it's easy money for me. I'd take that.
All right. Well, we'll take the more. We will do it, Coach. If they burn us, we will have to come with our pitchforks.
I'll
and
delete my
let
Twitter.
the-
You can never at me. Never take the L. Hashtag never take the L.
That's good advice, Thomas. Who wants to start on Tom Brady?
Oh, man.
4,550 and a half passing yards,
I'll just
which
say
is also
I'll
a pretty
take
high line. Thomas, take it.
I'm taking it. Arians, second year. Everyone came back. Age doesn't exist to Brady. Him and his pistachios will get him through to that. I think it was PFF had him at like 5,300 yards, and since PFF are the goats, as we all know, I'm gonna smash it.
I'm on the over as well. I was looking at this line earlier, and this one actually seems very likely to me. Tom Brady is he's got all of the weapons, as you said. They're all coming back. It's going to be another year in this system. And he doesn't age. Like, the guy just continues to go out there and produce. So I'm the over on this as well. Mark, where are you at?
So just like the Mahomes, it's probably a hold for me. It's probably an avoid. Just don't take the bet on either side. But if for the sake of conversation, I'll take the over for sure. I mean, again, the consistency of the system is there for him. He has, I mean, has he had a better wide receiver core than he has right now? It's not even close. It's not even close right now. And on top of it, I think ultimately, like, last year was like he can't do it, and he was just sort of like, okay, let me figure it out. Let me do my thing. Let me get, like, this year is like, watch this. You know what I mean? Like, this is the mindset I feel is coming for Tom Brady. Like, I get it. I'm old. You didn't think I could do this last year, and you're waiting to see what's coming from me. Watch. Yeah.
Coach, you got anything to add?
Yes, I'm the over on this one too as well. He did it last year, and now we got the extra game. We got, assumingly, Antonio Brown playing the whole season with him as well. Hopefully, Mike Evans, hopefully Chris Godwin stay a little bit healthier this year too as well. It could just be pretty scary. He could be pushing for 5K. I will say one more thing just about Patrick Mahomes too. With the 17 games, the Chiefs are probably going to be good again. They're probably going to have the 1 seed locked up. We could maybe not see them play the starters again in week 17, so it still might only be the 16 games.
Sure.
Yeah. That's fair.
Again, why I'm avoiding, but again, if I were a betting man on this take, I would take the over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to get a couple.
Why wouldn't you root for Mahomes to get 50 or 5,000?
Exactly. This just makes watching football more fun. Okay. This is how you make football more fun. We'll move into another one here. Coach, did you have one you wanted lined up specifically, or are you on for the ride?
I'm all along for the ride with you.
Yeah, I know you are.
They didn't have as many props up that I was more interested in down the road.
Yeah, I want to do like some of these bigger ones here, 3 out of 3. We'll move into a different position, so we aren't looking at the quarterback position so much. That's got 2 of the guys we just talked about. What do you guys think of this one? Are you in on talking this one, or do you want to jump over to a different more or less? There's just so many exciting ones.
Whatever you want to do, man.
This is what I mean. Like, there's so much. This is all quarterbacks. That's fun. I will get into that myself later when I get into my own projections. But okay, let's just go. Let's go rapid fire here. So these ones are fun. Basically, what we have to do is pin these players against each other as to who's going to have the most points at the end of the year. So our first line is Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. Tom Brady has a 449.5 yard bonus, so he gets that added to his to his line to start the season. So where are you at? Do you think that essentially Pat Mahomes will throw for 500 more yards than Tom Brady does? Thomas, you start.
500 more yards than Brady will? No.
That's what it says.
No.
And that's tough.
I won't go there. No.
Yeah.
It's very likely the number 1 and number 2 passing yardage leaders in the NFL right there. I'm going to say no.
Watch out for Matt Stafford coming in at hot number 3. Yeah. Mark, where are you at with these two? Are you of a similar mind as Thomas?
Yeah, I think we saw back in February what happens if you bet against Brady. So
Exactly. I've learned to stop doing that, to be honest.
Mark, we got to stop answering next to one another. I think we're just molding into one mind.
Well,
we should just never be on a show again, ever again.
Look, I'll just ask one of you to speak for both of you.
Don't say that. I'm not. I'll never. I regret it immediately, Steve. Wow, Tom. Oh no.
Wow.
I'm just gonna
drama on the Point After podcast. You guys can yeah, get out of here, Mark. All right, guys. The next line here, Coach. Did you have anything to add, or are you comfortable taking Tom Brady?
I have zero to add to that.
All right, perfect. So we'll go Tom, and then we've got Derrick Henry versus Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook has 170.5 yard bonus on Derrick Henry. Do you think he can repeat that, even close to that 2,000 yard season? What do you think? We're looking at 1,500 yards. And is Dalvin Cook going to be behind him by 170 or more? Where do you lean? Coach, we'll start with you this time.
I'm not betting against Derrick Henry here. He's got the durability on his side, especially with Dalvin Cook's injury history. So I'm taking Derrick Henry's side.
Yeah, I lean that way as well. And it is because of injury. I think it's very, very realistic that Dalvin Cook will miss sometime this year at some point. He's missed games every single season that he's been in the league. So to assume that he's just going to go out there and automatically be, super healthy, it's hard for me to believe. So I'm on the Henry side. Mark, Thomas, just one of you guys has to answer. I know you guys are sharing a brain, but Mark, where are you at?
I would first like to say that I was on a podcast with Steve Tironi this past week, and I've been calling people Steve all week.
Well, sometimes I go by Steve, so that's okay.
I apologize. I apologize to Tom for calling him Steve there. I will say, as far as everyone looks like a Steve in the right light, Tom. You're
a Steve, and you're a Steve.
You can call me whatever you want, Mark.
Anyway, I'm gonna stick with Derrick Henry here.
Okay.
As far as he's concerned, I am much more likely to think that he's gonna stay healthy over the two of these players, just like you said. And honestly, I don't like this bet at all. I don't like. Again, I'm not. To be honest, there are not a lot of bets I take. I'm much more willing to avoid. You got to find the right bets. You have to find the bets that are like completely like this can't happen.
It's going to happen.
Or the odds are so good, there's no reason not to bet it. I don't always take these. I don't take these middle of the road ones where they're so close for me. But I'd have to say Henry.
Yeah, and Thomas, you looked like you disagreed there, but where are you at?
It's rushing yards, right?
Yes.
We'll have more. I'll take Dalvin. I'll take Dalvin because the Tennessee Titans are telling everyone they're not going to run the ball as much. They go and get Julio. Their defense is dog water. Tannehill's been great. The signs are pointing to the workload lightening up with Henry. And Dalvin Cook, though he'll miss time, I'll still take him because him missing time, he was still like a beast. And I think that's still going to be the Vikings' identity. So I'm a big, I'm a heavy, the wild out gambler. I'll take Dalvin Cook there.
All right. Well, I do think there's a lot of merit in what you're saying. I just wanted to go back to Mark's point as well. In the fact that, this is a tough line to try and predict. These they're called, what are these called? Rapid fires. That's what they're called. Where you're back and forth between two players. These are really tough to predict, even in season. When you try and pin these players back to back, and so being a betting man myself, I will take Henry, but it is a tough line, and I'm not very confident in it, which makes me a little bit nervous to go and put some money on this. But we're not gonna break the bank here or anything. So we'll grab ourselves some Henry. Thomas, I know you're on the Dalvin Cook side, and if this is wrong, you can laugh in our faces when this comes around. And then our last one here, this is an interesting line as well. So this is rushing yards. Nick Chubb versus Christian McCaffrey, who I think we all have as the RB1 in this year's draft, but he's actually the underdog in terms of rushing stats here, just pure rushing yards. And as an RB1, we look at the receiving upside that he really offers and what he can do as a receiver. So where are you at with Christian McCaffrey plus 147 and a half yards? Coach, I'll start with you.
Whew, this is a tough one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're made for us to lose, right?
Can I say it's actually not tough for me? And I'm just going to take Nick Chubb here.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just going to right off the bat because Christian McCaffrey, great running back, but to be honest, their offensive line not nearly as good as the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. They're not a team that's really looking to be a ground and pound run the ball team. Even again, most of McCaffrey's production is on that catch. It's on that catch, the extra point for PPR, the yardage after the catch. That's where, I mean, not that he can't be a great running back. He does great things with the ball in his hands in the backfield as well. But this is Nick Chubb's bread and butter. And this is the year. Like, I think a lot. I mean, he's been an RB1 pretty much like in his regular season games when he's been healthy, like for the past 2 years. He hasn't quite been like a top end RB1. But I think it feels a lot like Derrick Henry's breakout to me in a way that like there were like 2 or 3 years where Derrick Henry definitely showed what he can do, but he was never really putting it together on the field. I think this is Chubb's year to just ball out.
I hope you're right. My dynasty shares hope you're right. This is what Nick Chubb does best. He's a great runner. So, Thomas, you got anything to add to that?
11 games, 1,067 rushing yards, and he didn't play all the way through those 11 games. Give me Nick Chubb. And for what Mark said, maybe he would hit that upper tier, like past that RB8 that he had in 2019, if he would not go out at the 1 on a 50-plus yard run. He'd be that guy. And, guys, Cleveland's going to finish first in that division, and they're going to do it through the legs of Nick Chubb. And that pains me as a Ravens fan. And I know I'm going to get flack for it when people see it, but it's going to happen. Nick Chubb's
I think they're – oh, Tom, man, we are vibing so hard right now. I feel like Cleveland is on its Super Bowl run. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but they are definitely a Super Bowl contending team in my book right now.
I'm going to bring you on the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast so you can just only agree with me and not Jacob and Billy. So I would love to just –
Tom, I would love to just sit there and just be like – I agree with Tom. That's all I'm going to do.
Just whatever he said. Whatever he said.
He's right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's. I'm going to throw a quick $5 on this one. If we hit on all these, that'll pay out a nice, cool, breezy $25 for us. So I will thank you guys. I'll send you your checks in the mail. And that's pretty much going to be it for tonight, guys. We've had a chock full episode. It always starts out like this. I always am like, I'm not sure if I have enough prep for the show, and then we're always running extra time because we just have great conversation over here at the point after. So thank you guys, all three of you gentlemen, for coming out. Real quick, just give the people your handles, what you guys have been working on, and where they can find you. Thomas, you start.
Hey, look, I'm Thomas FF. You can catch me over on the Bird app. You can catch me every Tuesday with the Fantasy Walkabout with my mate from around the world. That's Tom_Lee92. On my Australia mate, where we talk about true value in fantasy football. As mentioned before, you can catch me Fridays with Jacob Sanderson and Billy Milestone at the Full Tilt
right
Dynasty
before
podcast.
This one.
Exactly. It does run right before y'all. And you can also catch everything that we're doing over there at fulltiltdynasty.com. If you've missed previous episodes or want to catch up, you can go to the Dynasty Vipers YouTube network. They have our shows since we started there. And you can catch the rest again at fulltiltdynasty.com. I want to say thank you to Julien, Coach, and I love hanging out with Mark. We got to do it more often, yo.
Tom, man. Yeah. How have we not done this more? Man.
We got to. We have to. And I just want to say again, Julien, everything y'all doing with Brighter Skies there. I know Coach did his 32 teams and 32 charities. I had to throw it there to y'all for what you guys are doing, for what I've been through for it, and what people go through every day. It is so crucial, so important. I'm going to keep pumping that out for y'all. It's just fantastic. Much love to everyone here. Stay safe this weekend, and maybe go visit that cool website at fulltiltdynasty.com.
Most definitely. And thank you, Thomas. That was a fantastic outline of yourself. It's like you practiced that in the mirror or something.
I'm Italian. We can sell anything.
Mark, where can the people find you?
All right, you can see me right here, Primetime Mock. You can find me there on Twitter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Primetime Mock, where we put together a industry draft party every single week on Thursday nights. Unfortunately, mock draft season is coming to an end, so I'm actually going to be doing on Wednesday nights best ball drafts through Underdog. So we're going to be having draft parties, keeping the party going Wednesday nights all season long. Maybe every once in a while we'll drop the draft party and we'll do like a poker match or a poker table or something like that. Yeah, so we'll figure something out like that. But the thing I really want to plug is my pet project that I put together with my buddy Chris Moshinsky. It's Fantasy Football, a reality competition. We are putting together the pilot season, and I just want to run down the basic idea of what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis with Fantasy Football. Basically, you are going to have 22 contestants that draft a season-long gauntlet league, sort of like a guillotine league, but there are a few twists. On Thursday night, every Thursday night, we have an immunity showdown. We play a Thursday night DFS lineup. The winner of that DFS lineup has immunity for the week. They do not have to play in the gauntlet. The rest of the teams play the gauntlet Thursday to Sunday night. On Sunday night, your Monday night players are ineligible that week to add a little extra twist, a little extra drama, At the end of the Sunday night games, whoever has the lowest scores in the gauntlet, they are going to play a Monday night elimination showdown, and the loser is going to go home. We're going to have different twists and turns throughout the season. I am very excited about it. We have been putting it together. It's a proof of concept this year, so there are some issues. I'm not issues. That's the wrong thing. We're not having any issues. Don't think that. There is some growth though that should be expected because we're trying to establish our proof of concept. But man, we are really excited about it. We are still accepting submissions through the end of this weekend. Go on to my Twitter account, Primetime Mock or Fantasy
right now.
FB Show. Get yourself signed up. Put out a video as it can be as long as 5 minutes. It only needs to be 1 or 2. Tell us why you belong in the league, and we would be so happy to have you. We are so close to filling to our 22 number. I cannot wait for this to start, guys. It's going to be great. If you don't like fantasy, it doesn't matter. You're going to love this show.
Yes, most definitely. And I cannot say enough great things about you yourself, Mark, putting this together. I am signed up for this contest. I just got approved earlier today. I know you're dropping a hype video coming in the next few days. And so I am pumped to be part of this. This is going to be an absolute blast. I've always wanted to, compete in a game show about things that matter to me. And now I'm getting to live it. So I'm so excited you're putting this on. I'm super pumped. It's going to be a blast, man.
And if you go to @FantasyFFB Show, we have been dropping contestant promos for, I think we have 12 contestants that have been released so far. And you should see some of the characters that we've got in this league already. I am so excited to get it started.
Oh, it's going to be a blast.
I just want you to know,
Coach,
not only am I applying for this, I am putting on my entire wrestling ensemble.
Yes.
I'm cutting a 1980s wrestling promo. And let me tell you, you're not going to know me as Thomas Tipple FF. No, you're going to know me as David London, PCW 4-time tag team champion. And I will be coming for this competition.
I love it,
Mark. I'm doing it.
Now you make me feel bad about my video submission, Thomas. Wow.
And let me send you another one, Mark. You love fantasy football. You love reality TV. Make sure that you get yourself signed up for fantasy football. At least follow the Twitter. Get yourself signed up to the Primetime Mock YouTube channel. The shows are going to go right in there, right with Primetime Mock. We're transitioning from Primetime Mock to the Primetime Fantasy Network, and you're going to find it all right there.
Fantastic. And Coach, tell the people where they can find you on Twitter and what you've been working on.
Well, first of all, I want to say this whole competition that y'all are hyping up sounds pretty good. I might have to go apply myself.
You gotta get in it. Get in it quick. I'm still taking videos until Sunday. So
you had me at Thursday night DFS.
There you go.
But I'm a little bit of a DFS degenerate myself nowadays, so just starting in college football. So I've been doing a little bit of research for that, making more of those 32 team previews. So I just finished up the Buffalo Bills one earlier today. Going to have that edited, put out. I did the Atlanta Falcons with D Brown just the other day ago as well. So a lot of stuff coming out here with the team previews. Going to be talking probably have some other videos too, just talking about some bust players, some potential breakout or sleeper players as well. I'll get my guys out for this year too as well. So it's going to be an interesting time, busy couple weeks before the season starts, but definitely looking forward to it.
Naturally. And you can find all that over on Coach's YouTube page, Coach Craig Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
And
that's right.
Yep.
I'm not abolishing not abolishing. That's the wrong word. I'm not messing up your name here. Sometimes when it gets late at night, guys, my brain doesn't think properly. But this has been an absolute blast. Honestly, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I can't say enough great things. Make sure you can find me on Twitter at @ThePointAfterFF. You can follow me over there. Make sure you're checking out the True North Fantasy Football Network, True North FFB. We've got, I think 12 plus writers now. We're basically dropping a new piece of content almost daily for your dynasty squads, for your redraft teams. We got auction stuff on there. We got the Point After is going to be a DFS show once we get into the season. We're going to be covering the Sunday night and the Monday night games, and then our boys over at Sons of Dynasty are going to be doing the SO DFS podcast where they cover the main slate on Sunday. So we're going to have you covered from top to bottom on all your DFS content, all your start sit with the True North Fantasy Football podcast, as well as the Gold Jackets pod, and then the once the season gets in full swing, we're going to have the Jet Sweep show with Will Harris and Smokey Hell Nelson as well. So we just got a bunch of content coming for you guys coming out of the True North Fantasy Football Network. So make sure you go check it out on YouTube at the True North Fantasy Football Network and also online at truenorthffb.com. And lastly, last thing I got to say, I got a ticker scrolling down on the bottom about it. It's been there the whole show if you've been watching, but go check out VeridianGlobal.com. They've got absolutely the best merch in the business. They've got over 40 fantasy football affiliates, as well as player shirts, team shirts. They got hats, mugs, you name it. Not only can you find Point After stuff over there, but you can find all of that other goodness. So go check it out. And thank you guys again for this conversation. It was a pleasure kicking it with you. And till next time, I'll see you next week on the Point After with we got Pat Fitzmaurice coming on next week as well. So I just want to throw that out there before we get out of here to come on with 1 week until the NFL season. We're going to be filling out some DFS lineups with him, also doing some flag planting with the number one ranker in the business. So it is going to be an absolute blast kicking it next Friday. So, all right, guys, that's all I got to say. I'm rambling now. Enjoy your night, and I will talk to you later. Peace.
Oh, yeah.